Hey there guys, welcome back. How's it going? So today we're going to be taking a little bit more of a look at the Genesis Battle of Champions card game. Obviously, thank you once again to the creators of Genesis for sending me some nice stuff for us to look at. So in the last video we unpackaged the two-player starter set. We just had a bit of a quick look at it, kind of a first impression sort of thing. So I figured the next thing to do in this video, before we start playing, is we're going to do a bit of a breakdown of your heroes, how you go about deck building and stuff for this game. Now, anyone who knows me and probably watches this channel a lot will know that I'm a collector at heart. I'm not a person who plays a lot of card games, and even the ones I do, deck building is not my strong point, so I'm not going to be, creating any innovative strategies or anything over here. All we're going to be doing is talking about the actual restrictions on building a deck and what all of the symbols and stuff on your cards mean. Now, the way that this game works is you have 51 cards. It's a 50-card deck and your one champion card. So your champion is going to look a bit like this. They're going to be the only cards that have all three of these banners up here. So there's a few different ways to pick which champion you want. You can look at the stats and stuff, see which one you think would be best for the type of deck you want to play, or if you really care about the lore, there's a good section on their website that explains the backstories and stuff for each of their different champions, and you can decide if you want to go with one, that you just like the story for. So these are the two different champions from the starter deck, so we can see a few different things between them. So obviously we have color identity over here. Now this game works kind of like some other games if you've played Commander in Magic, or if you played that awful Munchkin trading card game that I had my issues with. You'll kind of recognize this mechanic in that your starting hero has certain colors identified with them, and all the cards in your deck have to match their color identities. So you can see that Raha here is yellow and blue. This is kind of a generic symbol. It seems like every card has this symbol, and then there are some cards that don't have any other color identity, so they could go in any deck. Idris, on the other hand, is red and pink, and there's a green symbol in there that we haven't seen yet. So first let's look at this Angel of Retribution. So you can see that this card here is both yellow and blue. So this could only go in a deck where the champion was both yellow and blue. So if you had a champion that say was yellow and red, this wouldn't be able to go in because it couldn't match the entire color identity of the champion. We have then this Bolt Shot has only yellow, so this could go in any champion that had yellow, whichever other color it was matched with. And then if you look at this Jalarian Hound, none of these are actually lit up, so it only has the generic mana or color identity, sorry. I think the official term for it is in this game is affiliation, so what colors is the card affiliated with. So that's obviously one of the big things you're going to be looking at when you're choosing your champion, because if you have some cards that you really like, you need to make sure that they fit in with your champion's color identity to allow you to play them in your deck. So let's take a look now at what else is on the champion card. So we look up here, the champions have health, so there's 22 and 25. Now, one of the things that sets Genesis apart from a lot of other games is that players are starting on different life totals. There are very, very few games, if any, that actually do this. One of the consistent rules in almost every game is that players start on the same life total. But in Genesis, because your champion is you, basically, you're representing your champion, this is you, the player, you will start on different health depending on your champion. So a champion with lower health may be more of an aggressive champion who's looking to get stuff done quick and win the game before they lose their health, whereas a champion with more health might be trying to go a bit later in the game, so needs to survive early on. Next up, what you're going to see is this blue symbol here. So it's 95 on this card and 125 on this card. This is your aura. This is kind of your equivalent of mana or energy. This is the stuff that you're using to cast most of your spells, summon your creatures, things like that. Another big thing that sets Genesis apart from other games is that you get all of this in one go at the start of the game, but once you've used it, it's gone. So if you're playing Idris, you get 125 aura at the start of the game, and if you want to, you can spend all 125 aura on turn 1 if you have the cards that allow you to do that, but then you're done. Then you have no more aura for the rest of the game. So there is a lot more of rationing it out, making sure that you're using it when you need it and not just being wasteful. When you look at things like Magic, people talk about mana efficiency of, trying to use your mana every turn so it doesn't go wasted. This is kind of the opposite. It's trying to save the aura for when you actually need it. And then the third little banner up here, the green one, this is your champion's energy reduction. So in addition to spending aura on a lot of spells, there will be some spells or some abilities that require you to use energy instead of aura. And energy reduction is basically what it sounds like. That's how much less energy your champion has to use. So Idris has a 0. So whatever is printed on the card when you have to use energy, Idris has to use exactly the right amount. Whereas Raha has a 1 energy reduction, so any energy costs that you do with your Raha deck, you pay 1 less energy. And energy is paid by milling cards from your deck. Now in this game, the official name for the deck is the Timeline, and the discard pile is Memories, but I will probably just be using deck and discard throughout the video, just to make it a little bit simpler. Of course, one of the ways to beat your opponent in the game is to have them run out of cards in their deck. So if you have a nice energy reduction cost, then that's going to mean you can play more of these energy cards without worrying about decking out. So the aura and the energy reduction you're only going to see on champions. There are some cards like creatures that do also have health, because when they come into play, obviously they have health and they take a certain amount of damage to be killed. So next thing we need to look at is this little 3x3 grid here, and that is where Genesis's flagship mechanic of having the cards played out on a 5x6 grid really starts to come into play. So this is your character's awareness. Now, awareness determines where your character can act. So if we look at Idris, the yellow or the white dot is your character. So Idris can only interact in spaces one directly in front of her. And when you're playing this game, your card isn't always going to be facing forward. There is rotation, so your card could be facing anywhere on the board, so it is always just one spot in the direction that the card is facing. And you can see, obviously, Idris uses heavy attacks, fireballs, so that kind of makes sense. Then we look at Raha. Raha has a much bigger range. She can hit 2 in front of her and any 2 up diagonally. That's because obviously she has range attacks and stuff like that. So within the lore it makes sense, but that's what this identity is for. Sorry, not identity. That is what the range of your character is for. And then if we again look at some spells, so the Hound has his own range, he can just go 1 in front as well. On creatures, the range is for the creature itself, and then on spells, it's your champion casting the spell, so this goes from your champion. So your champion would be the white arrow, and then the 2 red dots would be the range of the spell as your champion is casting it. Things like attacks I'll go into a little more when we're actually playing the game, but basic rundown is action is something you can only do in the action phase. Swift means you can do it at any time, and for example you can do it in response to something rather than needing to have an empty stack. And then exert is basically this game's way of tapping a creature or showing that it's been used for the turn, but obviously because in this game it matters where your character is facing, you can't just tap the card. But as I say, we'll go into that a bit more when we're actually playing the game. Now, one thing that the other cards in your main 50 will have that your champion doesn't is called a chi value. So let's have a look at some cards with chi values. So your chi value is this bit up here. You can see it's 8 on this card, 5 on this, and 3 on this. I believe at the moment 3 is the lowest it can be and 8 is the highest. I don't know if they plan to expand on that in the future. Now, another thing that sets Genesis apart from other games is within the deck building rules, there is no limit to how many copies of a certain card you can have. It's technically unlimited. The only rule is you have to have exactly a 50 card deck, and your total chi value can't exceed 250. So that means that your cards have to average about 5 chi per card if you want to maximize out at that 250, and you're generally going to want to. You can have less than 250 if you want, but it probably means there's a better card you could be putting in somewhere. So the Galarian Hound is a chi value of 5, so this is going to be about your basic standard average power level card. You can see it costs 9 to summon it into play. It attacks for 3 by exerting, and it has 3 health. We can compare it quite well to the Inferno Ghoul, which costs a little less to put into play, but only attacks for 2 and only has 1 health, and that's a 3 chi value. So obviously this is going to die a lot quicker, it's going to do a lot less damage. And then if we obviously go up to Angel of Retribution, this card is a bit of a banger. It has 6 health, it costs 25 to put into play, which, the higher chi values generally are, but it has a swift attack that does 6 damage and has a continuous effect. So you can see the difference in quality between these cards. And because you need your cards to be averaging about a 5, for every Angel of Retribution level big banger bomb powerful card, you have to be putting in a couple of Inferno Ghouls. So obviously there is a nice balance of how many of these big cards do I want to be playing to really increase my chance of getting one. Because remember, because you have all of your aura and stuff from the start, if you draw Angel of Retribution into your opening hand, you can just slam it onto the table turn 1. So it's obviously going to be great to have some of these 8 chi cards in your hand at the start, but you have to say, if I put enough 8 chi cards in that I'm definitely going to be drawing some, I'm going to then just be drawing loads of 3s for the rest of the game. So that's one of the biggest things you have to navigate around, it seems, in deck building. Alright, so that was just kind of a basic breakdown of the cards and what you're going to be seeing on them. Hopefully we'll be playing some games very soon, and we'll be able to take a much nicer and closer look at exactly how these mechanics and things work. But hopefully you did enjoy this video, and I will see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Check out some more videos right here.
And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content from DJ Gigabyte.
Gotta catch 'em all!